All right, today we start Chapter 2, Taking Charge of Your Health, and Section 1 in particular is making responsible decisions, all right? So, if we're talking about making responsible decisions, the first thing we always got to look at is just how decisions and your health work together, all right? And the biggest thing that we get from this is that you got to make sure you have decision-making abilities, all right? And that's just the process of making a choice or solving a problem, okay? In life, you're going to get stuck with making some very serious decisions at times, and you got to make sure you have the proper steps in place so that, as people often would say to me when I was younger, that you don't make a quick decision or an irrational decision or something like that. Okay? And and when I say serious decisions, I mean someday you may be entrusted to. I guess the most grave and morbid thing I can think of is that whether somebody lives or dies, all right? And that may be whether you continue life support if somebody's in a medical condition where the doctors say there's nothing more we can do for them. And those are some of the decision-making things that you may someday have to deal with, okay? That's probably the most severe thing for your age group. It's also, those decisions can be something very simple of whether you go to a friend's house. Especially if you know that friend, his parents aren't home and there's things going on that maybe you don't want to be a part of, all right? Those are some of the decision-making things you may have to decide someday, all right? You need to learn to make a decision on your own experience and what benefits your health, okay? Now that's a lot of words to basically say that when you make a decision, you got to figure out in your own experience, what is the best thing to do, okay? And this is where for one person might be to make one decision, and for another person the right decision might be a different decision, okay? I know a number of circumstances in my life. I know when I was working in the oil field for a while, I had a decision to make whether I wanted to keep working in it or not, and I chose to walk away. I have a younger brother who he was at that point too, and he made the decision to stay, and he's been there now for 12 years and does quite well for himself. And that's where the situation is for each one of us in our own experiences. The benefits to our health were completely different, but the decisions we made were completely different, but it worked out best for both of us, all right? Decisions and your values is the next little section in there. You're going to base a lot of decisions on your values, all right? And these are just the beliefs that guide the way you live. A lot of your values are really going to be what's right and wrong, okay? And this one, this is beliefs of, this kind of comes to morals a little bit, but this one even is probably a little bigger than that. It's just whether you could cheat on a test or not, all right? Yeah, there's a moral factor in there, but is the chance of getting caught more important than getting a good grade? And there's no two people that are going to answer that question exactly the same. Okay? And that leads to the next one, which is really where you get more into it, is the ethical part of it. Ethical is choosing to take the right action. Okay, you're going to meet people with many different levels of ethical beliefs, okay? When I think about ethical, though, I think about this in a lot of medical situations. Most people you'd talk to if you bring up the word ethics, I guess there's really two areas, is medical and law. In the medical field, the big thing is some of the big controversies revolve around different ideas, such as even simple things as pulling life support to doctor-assisted suicide to abortion as medical. And when I say these things, I'm not saying to persuade anyone one way or the other. It's just ethical things that people often have to decide about and what their values are within it, all right? These are not clear cut and dry. There's ethical decisions, simpler ethical medical decisions, such as when you should prescribe pain meds and when you need to actually tell people to get help. It is such a fine line, and I've talked to many different care providers over the years, and there's no simple answers within it. Okay, other things you're going to base your decisions and values off of are personal values, what you personally believe in, okay? Your book does a decent example on this one. It says that If you believe in like parking your neighborhood, you like it being clean, so for a couple hours on the weekend, you go out and just pick trash up around the park. Okay, something simple like that. The other thing I thought of is, and this is the person that likes to be fit, and if they want to have good personal fitness, they're going to make the personal choice every day to go to a 20-minute jog. All right, they're going to get out there, they're going to get themselves in shape, they're going to keep themselves in shape, and once they maintain that fitness level, they're going to keep it that way, and they're going to make sure they keep that value in place. All right. Sources of our values are going to come from our parents, our culture, our life experiences, our religious beliefs, and friends. Okay, parents is pretty simple. All right, these are things you've been around your whole life. If I dared to say, if I pulled the class right now, I could dare to say I know what most of your political affiliations are. And those are the values that have been put into you by your parents, and that's fine. That's life. That's where we get a lot of our values from. Our culture, like I said, if those of Norwegian background, like I said, if you're Norwegian and then if your family is from Norway, descendants are from Norway, like I said, they put a high value in reading. And most of us Norwegians have been taught that value somewhere along the line, all right? Life experiences, this is a big one. This is one that as you get older, even in the next 5 to 6 years, you'll learn how life experiences will start to affect your thought processes in different ways that you make your decisions, all right? Religious beliefs, okay? This is where, even if you're of the Christian belief, of no religious belief or whatever else, there's always religious belief in everything, okay? That's where, sometimes morals get brought up in the religious concept, and that's fine. It's a fair argument. But those religious beliefs kind of, I think, do relate back to parents and family in that way too. Friends are a source of values. I've seen where some kids are in a good friend situation where they maybe once upon a time weren't making good decisions, chose to start choosing their decision processes. And I've seen the vice versa where I saw kids that were probably, shall we say, of strong, good moral backgrounds and started hanging around friends that probably didn't make the best decisions, and the next thing they know, they were drugged down too. All those things factor together when you look at sources of values and ethics. Now, when it comes to actually evaluating your choices, you're looking at what's right or wrong, okay? And what we're really looking at is what the criteria you're going to base things on. Criteria is nothing more than standards on which you base your decisions. The book gives a formula called the HELP formula. HELP, the H stands for healthful. What are the risks? Is this going to affect your health in a positive or negative way? Simple questions like that. Is it ethical? Does it fit within my values? Okay, my friends ask me to come over. I get over there and I see there's alcohol. Now I got to start evaluating the criteria. Okay, I don't believe in drinking at my age, so I need to possibly get out of this situation. Legal, are there laws and rules against it? Okay, we'll build on what I just said. If you're not of the age of 21, it's not legal for you to consume alcohol. And if you're at a situation where you're under 21 and people are consuming alcohol, you can get in trouble too. So now there's legal ramifications. Some of these legal ramifications can follow you for quite some time. I can even go as far to say that some of these legal ramifications can affect possible awards and scholarships down the line. I know of certain situations where kids were left out of exclusive, shall we say, honor groups and stuff like that because of their having, shall we say, legal issues in their past. And the last question, or the P part of it's going to be, is it parental approved, all right? What would your parents think of this situation? Yes, there's going to be varying degrees on this one. I know that. That's not too surprising to me. The only thing I would say with that is that make sure when you ask that question is that what would a good parent maybe say? I'm not saying there's any bad parents. I'm just trying to say try holding yourself to a higher standard when you think on that one. Using these 4 steps above, they should provide a quality guidance to make a choice. Now, as we're gonna talk later on here, just because you do all this and you come up with a decision, I'm not saying it's always gonna be the right decision, all right? And those are things you're gonna figure out with life. That kind of goes back to where we talked about maybe experience. Life experiences is going to form your values and your ethics. This is another situation where you can do everything right and follow the book, and doesn't always mean that it's going to turn out the way you want it to. But at least if you know you went through the steps, you put good thought process into it. All right, influences on your decisions. Decisions are based on facts, other influences in media. Okay. Decisions that are based on facts, or whether, I guess these are like, I think of scientific law, Newton's third law of motion, everything that, for every action there's an equal or opposite reaction. So in other words, when you throw a ball into the wall, a rubber ball into the wall, when it hits the wall, it's going to bounce back. That's a fact. That's Newton's third law of motion. All right. It is the plain sight. It's no different than when you take a step. Your foot actually pushes backwards so you can go forward. Okay, those are facts. There's no way you can deny those facts, and those are things that, I'm using that as a fact. But when you decide to do something, that could influence your decision whether something's going to work or not. Other influences could include family, friends, things of that nature. We've already kind of hit on some of those. And the last influence is going to be the media, all right? And the media nowadays, like we've said, is big, okay? You watch TV, you listen to online stations, podcasts, anything else. There's often some sort of advertisement in there. They're trying to get you to influence you to make a decision to, spend time with them or business with them or whatever else. And those things are a very powerful source, all right? You really break your decisions down into a 6-step process, all right? And those 6 steps are on page 40, and they look something like this, okay? I know this probably isn't very easy to read, but it is somewhat legible. But if not, it's on page 40 in your book. And those 6 steps are pretty simple. It's basically state the situation, list your possible options, weigh the possible outcomes, consider your values, make a decision, and act and evaluate your decision, all right? Those 6 things, here again, you go through the process, you do things right. Yeah, when you evaluate it, it may not work out the way you want it to, but at least you took the time to evaluate whether the decision was right or wrong, all right? And when you evaluate it, it's just like other life experiences. It'll help you make the decision process easier on in life. And the big thing one of the bigger things I want you to get out of this class going forward is that you're learning how to make life decisions now. And it's hard to explain to 7th graders just because, like I said, you haven't had to make tough decisions. We all have to make tough decisions. At your age, you do have to make tough decisions, and those can just be the right or wrong and what you choose to do with your life, or who you hang out with, or possible good outcome, bad outcome situations. All right, that is section 1 wrapped up pretty quickly. Like I said, take some time, read it. It's a pretty good section. Again, I would suggest this in the best way I can, is that stop once in a while and think to yourself, how this applies to me at this point in my life, or is there a situation in my life where I probably could use some of these things? All right, thank you and have a good day.